The wind howled across the ravine, carrying with it the bitter cold of the mountain peaks. Snow flurries danced through the air like tiny white daggers, stinging the skin and freezing breath before it even left the lips. The old imperial outpost sat in ruins on the cliffside, its walls crumbling, its gates rusted. And inside one of its abandoned barracks, a human and an alien mercenary huddled together for warmth and for survival. "Blast it," growled Captain Zara as she slammed her clawed hand against her chest plate. Her armor flickered with sparks. This whole suit's fried. Took a plasma hit right to the core. Her long, scaled tail lashed in irritation behind her as she tried once more to power up the armor's heating unit. Nothing. Not even a spark. Marcus leaned against the cracked wall, rifle resting across his lap. He had seen Zara angry before, angry at enemies, angry at incompetent mercs under her command, angry at him for making sarcastic comments. But this was different. This was frustration tinged with something he didn't see often in her. Vulnerability. "You're going to freeze to death if you keep sitting there scowling at it," he said, his voice calm, though his own fingers were numb. Her slitted golden eyes snapped toward him. "I don't freeze easily, human." "Aha." He gestured to the metal plates covering her body. They were glowing faintly blue now, a sure sign the temperature regulators inside had failed completely. "Your whole species is cold-blooded, remember? You go below 10 degrees Celsius, and you start shutting down. And it's already below zero out there." She bared her sharp teeth at him in a snarl that would have made most men soil themselves. Marcus didn't even flinch. He was used to it. Finally, with an annoyed hiss, Zara rose to her full height. She was tall for her kind, taller than him by a good head, her lean frame built for speed and combat. Her crimson armor clung to her like a second skin, now cracked and sparking from the battle they'd barely survived. "I have to get out of this suit before it kills me," she muttered, mostly to herself. Marcus raised an eyebrow. "That suit is the only thing keeping shrapnel out of your hide. You sure you want to?" She spun toward him suddenly, cheeks flushing a darker shade of violet beneath her scales. "No peeking, human," she snapped, pointing a clawed finger at him like she was issuing a death sentence. "Turn around. Face the wall. Close your eyes. I don't care what you do, but if I catch you looking..." He held up both hands, smirking. "Relax, Captain. Not my first time in a foxhole with someone changing." Her eyes narrowed dangerously. "You so much as glance over your shoulder, and I'll cut those eyes out." "Crystal clear," he said, turning to face the wall. "But, you do realize we're both freezing to death, right? Not like I'm in the mood for a peep show right now." Her tail lashed again, hard enough to crack the floor. "Just shut up." Behind him, Marcus could hear the sound of metal plates being unclamped, one by one. There was the hiss of depressurizing seals, the groan of servos releasing, the clatter of armor pieces hitting the floor. He couldn't help the occasional glance over his shoulder, strictly out of instinct, of course, but he caught himself every time before she noticed. Zara was muttering curses under her breath in her native tongue. Something about stupid human airstrikes and idiot tech crews who can't shield a power core properly. Finally, she let out a sharp hiss of relief.
"There. Off."
Marcus risked asking, "So, you decent?" "No," she snapped immediately. "Stay turned around." "Right." He rubbed his arms against the cold. "So, what's the plan? We wait for rescue? Hike back to base?" "Rescue's not coming till morning," she said, her voice lower now, calmer. "And the storm will kill us before then, unless we find a way to stay warm." That was when Marcus heard it, a strange, rapid sound, like teeth chattering but not quite. It took him a moment to realize it was coming from her. "Zara," he said slowly, "are you shivering?" "Shut up," she growled immediately. He risked a glance over his shoulder this time. She was sitting on the floor now, wrapped in nothing but a thin undersuit that clung to her body like fabric paint. Her scales had lost some of their usual luster, and her sharp, confident posture was gone. She looked small, smaller than he'd ever seen her. Marcus sighed, shrugged off his own jacket, threadbare as it was, and walked over. She glared up at him. "What are you doing?" "You're freezing," he said simply. And unless you want to be a Zara-shaped icicle by morning, we need body heat. It's Survival 101. Her eyes widened slightly, then narrowed again. Humans and your ridiculous warmth, she muttered.
Fine.
But one wrong move, and I'll gut you. Understood, Captain. They ended up sitting back to back, her tail curling unconsciously around his leg for warmth. He tried very hard not to comment on it. Minutes passed. The storm howled outside. You're warm, she admitted grudgingly after a while. Perks of being warm-blooded, he said with a small grin. You guys really never evolved any kind of insulation, huh? She snorted softly. On my planet, heat is the enemy. You don't waste energy keeping it in. You evolve to get rid of it. Guess that makes sense. Silence again. Then, after a long pause. You really didn't look, did you? She asked suddenly, voice quieter than he'd ever heard it. Marcus tilted his head slightly. Didn't look at what? She turned her head just enough to glare at him over her shoulder. When I was taking it off.
Oh.
That. He smirked faintly. Nope. Told you I wouldn't. Her golden eyes studied him for a long moment, as though trying to find any trace of a lie. Most males would've, she said finally. I'm not most males. She gave a small huff that might have been approval. Hard to tell with her. Hours passed. The storm began to die down outside. The two of them stayed pressed together, sharing warmth in silence. Finally, Zara muttered, You make a good heat source, human. I'll put that on my resume, Marcus said dryly. Professional heat source for cranky alien mercenaries. Her tail flicked against his leg again. This time, he was pretty sure it wasn't by accident. Next time, she said slowly, almost as if the words pained her, maybe you don't have to turn around. Marcus raised an eyebrow. Oh. She met his gaze evenly, cheeks darkening again. Maybe. The storm outside raged on. But in the ruined barracks, it was suddenly a lot warmer.